Hey everybody, today I've got a really special guest and I'm excited to talk to you guys about something really cool, because a lot of times when people start a business or they hear people talking about, I did a webinar, it had like 10,000 people, or a challenge that had all these things. A lot of times people are beginning to get overwhelmed and just like, man, I can't do that. Like I don't have the ability to have a challenge with 1,000 people. Or if I did have a challenge with 1,000 people, it'd freak me out because I got 1,000 people I got to talk to. And it's very overwhelming for people who want to be a coach. They want to be a trainer. They keep hearing these big numbers people talking about, but they get scared. And so the guest I have today is actually someone who I've been watching for the last few years. One of my favorite people like in our community. Super excited to have him here. But he started doing something recently where he was doing these little tiny challenges, mini challenges, tiny challenges. And I wanted him to kind of talk about this. I think for any of you guys who want to become a big coach someday or whatever that thing might be, but you're at the beginning, like this is like one of those powerful, simple, easy ways to get started right out of the gate. And so our guest today is Richmond Din. Richmond, how are you doing today?
Very good. Thanks for having me on, Russell.
Yeah, he flew all the way from Australia to be with you guys here today to share this, but he's at our Inner Circle meeting today. You've been in our Inner Circle now for how many years?
Yeah, a bit over 2 years now.
2 years.
Obviously, I've got the 2 year painful.
Yeah, he prepaid for 2 years. He's like, I'm not leaving. So he flies to Boise a couple times a year from Australia. Which is,
it's been so good. I mean, it's the only time I fly out of Australia now. It's just for these events, and it makes the year really fast and really fun.
Do your family think like Boise, Idaho must be this huge like tourist location because we keep going there every day?
I tell them how amazing it is. I'm so surprised on how beautiful the town is. It's yeah. I mean, I'll bring them here one day too as well. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so let's get to this. So first off, I want to understand how you even stumbled upon this, right? Because I think most people, they do a challenge, only a couple people show up, they think it was a failure. And for you, it became like everything. So I'm just curious the backstory behind this.
Yeah, well, the backstory is 4 years ago, I heard about the idea of doing a challenge. And I wasn't fully a beginner in my coaching journey, but I wanted to run a challenge because it just made sense to build trust. But I had all the fears that everyone has. What if no one shows up? What if they do show up and they ask a question and I couldn't answer it? Or worse yet, like how do I market it and how do I do it and what topics do I teach? And there were so many things. I wasn't speaking much back then as well. And so I've never really consistently speaking to an audience 5 days in a row for that long. And my biggest fear was, like, hey, if no one shows up, it's not a big deal because no one knows, right? And that's okay. But my biggest fear was, what if one person shows up? That would be the worst. And I thought about it. I thought, like, sometimes in life, the worst things can be the best things. And like, if you can't, that's why you must. And if you don't have the money, it's why you should join the program, because you don't have the money all the time. And so I asked myself the question, like, what if one person did show up? Like, would that be such a bad thing? I thought, well, not for them. Like, that would be the best thing for them.
A one-on-one challenge.
100%, like one-on-one time. And that would be a far superior offer for them. And then I thought, and I probably would close higher as well. And it might be a really cool thing. And then I got used to the idea about, you know what, actually, that might be an actually really good thing. And so I just went for it. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this one-on-one challenge as a worst case scenario, but as a primary vehicle. And then it blew up into this crazy thing because I found out all these other benefits around it. Because the traditional challenge, you got problems of what date should I do it on? What time? Like if I'm catering for the international market, should I do it 8 p.m., 8 a.m., all this kind of stuff? But a one-on-one challenge, you can do it anytime. It's an agreed time between you and the other person. It can start on a Saturday. It doesn't have to be the same time every day. You can have 1 day break. It had so much flexibility and it took all the pressure away from running a traditional challenge, and it took all the fear away. And that's how that was born, the whole one-on-one challenge.
Interesting. When you talked about how like if one person showed up, that would be like the scariest thing in the world, it reminded me the very first live event I ever did was actually right by the airport downtown Boise. And I'd just been to a Dan Kennedy event. He was talking about doing events. I'm like, I'm going to do an event. So I remember we got some direct mail lists. We sent postcards to people. We ran a radio ad, and we had like 100 people sign up for this event. And we were going to do it 3 times during the day. It was like morning, afternoon, and night. And the very first one, I think we had, I don't remember how many people were supposed to come, but like 10 people showed up. And it was like, he said, okay, 10 is fine. And we kind of did the thing. And I think the room was set for like 30 people. So it was kind of like, they were sporadic, but it wasn't that bad. And then that was the first one. The second one that happened around lunchtime or whatever, only 2 people walked in, and one sat in the very back and one sat in the very front. And I felt that like that fear. I was like, oh no. And you know me, I talk fast anyway. And my 90-minute presentation I delivered in about 13 minutes because there's two people. I got so nervous. I was like, and it was done. I was like, well, thanks for coming, guys. And then they kind of just awkwardly left. And then the last one, I think we had another like 12 people came to the last one, so it wasn't as bad. But the one that had the most fear for me was not the one with a ton of people, it was one with almost nobody. So I understand that conceptually to scare someone from even trying, because both sides are kind of scary, right? You get 1,000 people, that's scary, especially if I'm new. You get one. And so when you did, I'm curious, like you had the idea, was it more so that you became okay with the idea of one, or did you orchestrate this to only be a challenge for one person? How did that work?
I first became okay with the idea of one, but then I thought because I'm always asking myself the question, if I had to start all over, what would I do? And when I started 7 years ago, there was no challenge. Like challenges wasn't really a thing. But I would start on like one-on-one pro bono. Like that's what all coaches should do. And I thought, because that's what I did. I did one-on-one pro bono for like 6 weeks, 1 call per week. And I thought, wow, if we did a one-on-one challenge, it'll compress that pro bono journey from 6 weeks into 5 days. And you're basically 6xing the speed of result from experience point of view. But then you get the re-sign opportunity because it's encompassing the challenge and it's more attractive. And I thought, that should be the way. Like that should be the way for every beginner starting coach, because pro bono, we all have to do it anyway. So it replaces the whole pro bono journey. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, this is crazy. Like this is going to reduce every stress or overwhelm or anxiety anyone has from even doing a challenge to 20 people or 100 people. And it's just a great way to start as well, to build up your skill set in presenting, because there's 0 presentation skills required. It can be done on the phone. You don't have to be good at tech because it can be done on the phone or just WhatsApp video or whatever. And it removes all that away. And then you get to learn how to craft your messaging, learn to see what offer sticks. And from that, it was like, this is the way. And we've got students like who've made $100,000 just from this, faster than ever. Yeah, just from the tiny challenge, the one-on-one challenge. I couldn't believe that they could get to 100,000. I thought, yes, this would be a great way to get to your first 20, 30, 40, 50,000 for sure. But they're doing it all the way to 100,000. Now they've got a couple of 100 hours of coaching experience up their sleeve as well. And from a competency level, it's huge.
Interesting. Okay, so walk me through this. So someone decides they're going to do a tiny challenge. Is that a trademark? This is yours. Well,
I got to give credit. I did trademark it. Yeah. Did you? I did. And that was credit to Pedro, because I was at Pedro's house and I said, hey, Pedro, a lot of your beginner students, like the group challenge is overwhelming. We've actually been teaching one-on-one challenges to help them get the first 25, 50K. And it's like, one-on-one? What's that? Like, done one-on-one. Like, you market it as one-on-one. It's like, that is crazy. That solves everything. And I said, yeah, it does. And I said to him, look, this is what we're teaching. And he's like, you got a name for it? And no. He said, well, you got to come up with a fancy name, because otherwise, you got to have a good marketing angle. So we were brainstorming, which we should have called it like the mini one or, micro. And we came up with Tiny, and Tiny was just the perfect name. And then he said to me, Richmond, like, that's the name, and you got to go trademark it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go trademark it. So that's what we did. Oh, that's cool. So Tiny Challenges is a thing. It's official. Okay, so walk me through just how it works. Like, what are your students doing, or how did you do it? I'm just curious, like, from everything, from how do you structure? What does the offer look like? Like, what are you doing day by day, just to kind of help people understand what it looks like? Yeah, so it's different from a group challenge, because it's not done, obviously it's not done to an audience where you have to make it relevant to the room. So you can tailor the content specific to what they need. So the biggest difference on core one, I go through like a framework called like the 5S, which is you can identify what are their fears, frustrations, what their future, like what do they want in the next 5 days, in the next 12 months, where have they failed in the past, and then and what are they afraid of trying, right? And so we get all this data on core number one, which is data is dollars, right? And you can't get that data from a group challenge. And so they get that data, and then we kind of say, okay, group, this is what you need. The challenge's topics are going to X, Y, Z, but because I'm hearing this, I might just tailor it a little bit to what you're looking for over the next 5 days. And then when it comes to presenting the offer, it's as simple as, because most brand new coaches don't know what to offer. It's like, hey, have you loved the 5 days? Like, yes. If I was to offer you something for $3,000, what would that look like to you? And they tell you what the offer is. And then you do that 5 times, you've got a proven offer. And then you can now create a proper offer from it. So it gives you the data immediately without having to try to second guess what should my offer be, because it's It's so good. The data you get from this is amazing. And that's why when they transition from tiny to group challenges, the message is on point, the hook is on point, the offer is on point, and they're not going to do a challenge to 100 people and flop it.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fascinating. I think it's one of the problems a lot of people have is they've never tested the messaging, the hook, any of that kind of stuff. Like one of my favorite stories, Jamie Cross, who's been in Inner Circle for a long time, like she came in as soon as she learned about funnels she launched her first funnel within like 8 months, hit 2 Comma Club, and within like a year and a half, the 2 Comma Club X, like really fast. And I asked her, how did you do this? She's like, well, I spent the first 2 years of my business going door to door pitching my soap. And then I did farmers markets pitching my soap. And she like had done so much by the time that like she did a funnel, it was like, oh, just pitch my soap. I've done it a million. I know what people's concerns are. The hot buttons, the thing that like when someone's walking past a farm market, it gets them to stop, right? There's my hook. And like, she knew all those things because she'd done it ahead of time, where most people like, oh, my funnel doesn't work. I tried this thing, nobody bought, no one clicked on my ad. And they're just, because it's the first time ever doing it, right? They have no idea what's actually important. Like you said, the data is powerful because really quickly, you also get to hear like the way they're explaining things in their own words. And like, oh, wow, they said this, they said this. And you start listening and it helps you to create the things you need to do. So how do people get their first client? Is this something I don't know if you're buying ads through these, talking one-on-one to find someone. How do they get their first client for something like this?
Yeah, well, we'll recommend to first of all reach out to their immediate contact list, family, friends of friends, acquaintances, people they know in the past. And if they got a social media profile, like just put a post up that I'm offering a one-on-one thing for 5 days, that kind of post there, and start there. Like most people will be able to get 10 people from the immediate circle, like very, very easily. I mean, unless they haven't been a good person to the people around them. But
nobody likes you, nobody trusts you.
Yeah, which is probably a good thing because it tells you what you need to work on next.
Yeah,
just be more likable. But we haven't had a problem with people not being able to get it organically first before they were to run ads. I mean, actually, no one's needed to run ads for this. It's just very easy. Because on the last day, we have a referral strategy too. It's like, hey, if you love this, I would love to, 2 of your friends who would love this same experience. And that's kind of how we grow it.
Okay. And then in theory, would they do the next one with 2 people, or would they just do 2 separate?
2 separate, yeah. I would recommend they do it at least minimum 10 times. And so if they're selling a $3,000 offer or $5,000, they're going to make about $30,000 to $50,000, right? The reason why that's important is because doing it 10 times actually takes less time than doing a group challenge, because it's delivered one-on-one. Like a group challenge, as you know, a lot of marketing, a lot of hooks, a lot of ads, a lot of all this stuff. So it's the time it takes to do 10 tiny challenges is actually the same, but they get to present the offer 10 times and iterate 10 times and get 10 points of data. And so it's almost impossible to get 10 no's in a row because you're always iterating and getting feedback.
Yeah. Okay. So step 1 in this process, they go out there, they message their warm audience, whatever it is, telling them that they're doing a 5-day challenge one-on-one. If they're interested, to contact them. Do they filter like if you like someone message you like, I know this person's broke or this person's not going to do like how do they pick the right person?
Yeah.
They take anybody.
There is a criteria. So we do have a filtering process. We call it a commitment piece. And so the commitment piece, once they agree, okay, does this work for you? Like the times work. Okay. The final thing is, and there's 3 types of commitment pieces we recommend. The first one is just donate $20 to charity of your choice. And the way we frame that is because once you give, you open yourself up to receiving. It's a good thing to do. And so just send me the screenshot once it's done, and they do it. They can do that. The second thing is a commitment letter. So you have like a pre-written letter and say, I just want you to feel like my name is, Russell, and I commit to it, and they copy the letter, send it back to you. And that's a commitment piece to say they're going to be committed to do it. And then the third one, you could charge like a very small price point, like $17, $27, refundable deposit, just to make sure you're getting in the right people. But the crazy thing is, there are no time wasters in a tiny challenge, because no one turns up for 5 days to waste your time. People will download a free guide and wait, like, you know what I mean? No one does that. People, if they're going to waste time, they'll go to other methods, but they won't stay for 5 days unless they were actually wanting change. So you're actually qualifying them through the 5 days anyway, because otherwise they wouldn't show up. They actually want help.
Yeah. Interesting. Do people do all 3 of those, or pick one, or?
Yeah, just pick one. Yeah, I just tell them, hey, pick which one resonates with you the most, and then use that as your commitment piece.
I just had a big idea that I'm going to share at the end based on what you just said, because you just blew my mind with something. But so if I forget, everyone on YouTube, remind me to come back and drop this one, because I just had I had like $1 million idea right as you said that. Okay, So remember, I'm coming back. All right. Okay. So they message their friends. There's a filtering process. They come through. There's a 5-day challenge. Day number 1, you said it's the 5 Fs. Walk through the 5 Fs again.
Yep. What's first of all, paint the future, meaning what do they want? What's the goals for the next 12 months? Where their biggest frustrations? Where have they failed in the past? Where have they tried and failed? 4th F is what are their fears? What are they most afraid of? And the 5th F is framing. So framing the sale, right? And so asking for permission to be able to sell to them at the end of the 5 days. Hey, if you've loved this and this has been an amazing experience, would it be okay with you if I present to you what working with me on a paid basis looks like on day 5? And so you're getting the permission there.
Very cool. Okay, now, so that's day number 1 of the challenge. What happens now on day number 2?
Day number 2 is content piece number 1, which is kind of following your framework. Like, what's your opportunity? What's the way? They reveal some sort of framework of their system of creating a result. And then they assign homework after that. And the homework is done on the call, and then Q&A after the homework.
Well, you do the homework with them on the call.
Yeah. There's with challenge homework, what we suggest is make the homework small, meaning like or tiny. That takes less than 5 minutes to do, because when you leave people to do the homework after the call, they don't do it. But it also gives them the time. It's kind of like running a workshop or a curated event. Like when you do it on the event, on the call, they just move faster. And so we wait. Like just wait, and then they can send it in to you or text you or whatever it is, but you just give them 5 minutes to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So that's the content that's going to be happening. So content piece 1, day 3 is content piece 2, day 4. So then when do you transition to the pitch? How does that?
Yeah. So day five is recap of the 5 days. Let's recap what we did in the last 5 days. Amazing. Then we ask for referral. Hey, remember referral? If you love, could you think of 2 people that would love this? And then we transition into the offer. And so at that point, it's like, hey, remember day 1, I mentioned if it's okay if I present you what working with looks like, and you transition to the offer. So the reason why we do it in that sequence is because we want to make sure that they feel good about the 5 days. So we do a quick recap, and then they refer to people that's feeling good for that. And then we go into the offer, and then present the offer, handle objections. And maybe for probably half the people, they'll need to book in that 6th call for, another enrollment call, because they need to think about it.
Oh, gotcha. So if they don't have it, then you follow up the call to do.
Yeah. If they don't buy on call number 5, it's like we'll book in call number 6 to, unless it's a hard no, and then, just let it go, get the data, get the feedback, which is the more important part. Yeah.
I just served you for the last week. Why that? I would assume at that point, someone who's spent that much time investing in them, they almost feel obligation at the end of like, wow, like they put a lot into me. I got to make sure.
And here's the thing that blew my mind too. I had a client who sold a $15,000 program off a tiny challenge. And that makes sense because of course you could sell something higher because there's more intimacy. And so I had a lot of people saying, oh, but Richmond, I've been doing group challenges and it's not really working. And maybe they've made $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 and they feel like they're taking a step back by doing this. When in fact, if they've got the experience and they've got skill set and they're good at what they do, imagine they could sell a $20,000 program off. And I believe that would be very, very possible. Like you would do that. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you my $1 million idea I had 5 minutes ago. When you were saying that, I was just like, because first I'm like, oh, this is such a good thing for beginners. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, what if I want to do this? What if I said, I'm going to do a 5-day one-on-one challenge. And I put out to my audience at this point, and I'm like, you're getting 5 1 hours with me. We're going through a process and a framework to get you, and maybe it's webinars. I'm going to help you to structure and build out a webinar. It's $100,000 for a 5-day challenge. One-on-one with me. I think I could sell that. I think I could sell. I think I could sell 5 or 10 of them, maybe 1 a week for the next 10 weeks, right? And then structure that the 5 days. And the end of the 5 days, to say something like, hey, based on this, you paid $100,000 for this. I have a $250,000 offer where you actually come out here for a full 1 day. We're going to build out the rest of it, and you have a chance to do a presentation of my event or whatever, do a webinar, and it's $250,000. You already spent 100, so we'll apply that. So it's like $150,000. You do that. Like I could sell a $100,000 tiny challenge into a $250,000 consulting day. I think
that is so cool.
Long. Isn't that interesting?
That is
all right,
so
I'm done.
cool.
I'm just going to tiny challenges, like because I think about like the big challenges,
tiny challenge.
Because the big challenges are like I love big. Obviously, I love big challenges. A lot of people, a lot of mass. But you're selling a $1,000 offer or whatever, and so there's like, there's the people who want premium, there's people who want low ticket. And so it's kind of like you're targeting this group in the middle. But I think with tiny challenges, again, you can target that group. But you can also just shifting around. Like if Dan Kennedy charged me, $50,000 to do 5 1-hour calls with me for a week, and the end of it pitched, I get to come hang out with him. He's gonna write my copy for like done. I don't even think twice about it. You know what I mean? Like, wow. What if I just did 1 or 2 of those a month? Anyway, I don't know. That's just kind of an interesting mind.
I would do that.
You just had me. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that got me thinking. Wow, that's amazing.
All right. This is now tiny challenges to huge challenges. Anyway. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Back to.
It doesn't have to be 5. It could be 3 calls. We recommend minimum 3 calls, maximum 7 calls. So 3 to 7 is a sweet spot. 5 is just a good number.
Very cool. Okay. So now I want some data based on the clients and students you have going through this process. Like and I know with close rates, it's all over the place. So I'm curious, like what is it looking like? Is 1 out of 10 or signing up?
3 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
We've never had someone do 0 out of 10. Like the average is 3 out of 10 in the first 10. And then the averages go up on the next 10. Then it becomes 4 out of 10. And the next 10 is 5 or 6 out of 10. They just get better. And so our record student, she's done like 55 of these. And her first 10 was like 3 out of 10. But then towards the back end, she was closing 7 out of 10. It just became, and that's she became addicted to it. She didn't want to do group challenges. It's like,
this is way better.
Yeah, it is. It just was working.
What price point was she selling that? I'm curious on her.
5,000.
5,000.
Well, it didn't start 5,000. The first one's 2,000 and it went up.
You get more confident. Yeah,
of course.
And get better and better. And then the fulfillment, like you said that you asked them kind of what the fulfillment looked like, but traditionally, what is it? Is it like doing more one-on-one calls? Is it transition?
More of the same. So, basically they got 5 days of one-on-one, and then you're selling, like what you said, like about 1 day one-on-one, or they usually sell like 3 months or 6 months of one-on-one coaching.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. You want to hear something really cool?
Yeah.
Because the next stage is, people think group challenge is the next stage, but actually one of my students did what she called a hybrid challenge. I'm like, what's that? Because she had, she transitioned from tiny to group, but then she had like 10 people in the group. Only 5 could show up. And then I said, what did you do with the other 5? I did a tiny challenge. And so it was a 100% show up rate for a small challenge. And she called it a hybrid challenge. Like, that's amazing. And so 100% show rate. So she did group to the people who could show up to the group calls. And then the people who couldn't show up, she did a one-on-one.
Interesting. What if I saw another idea. What if you did something where, again, I'm thinking about my life. Like if I do a $100,000 5-day with somebody, but then that people pay $1,000 to listen in and just watch it.
Whoa.
Because then it's like you get the $100,000 with the person, and then you get 10 people to pay you, whatever.
That would be
20
huge.
or 30 people. That could be really fascinating.
Like the decade in a day. Like
100%. Yeah. To watch other people get coached through it would be
that was more valuable for me than that day.
Richmond flew 18 hours to Boise, Idaho for a 15-minute consult with him. But you were in the room for 1 day and then you flew back out, which is crazy. And thank you. That was amazing that you did that. But yeah, there's something valuable about that. Like I wonder if you could sell tickets to. Anyway, sorry. There's so many iterations off of this that are really interesting and fascinating. Man, I want to do one really bad right now. Anyway. Sorry, I digress.
Yeah, and you'll be attracting the best clients too for what you're thinking. It'll be amazing.
So cool. Okay, my next question for you then. So you talked about how some of your clients have gotten to these high, it wasn't just like they made 30 grand or 50, like they're getting higher levels. Is it mostly just they keep doing it, or are they moving from one thing to the next, or like what are the other ways to keep increasing the prices?
Increasing the price of the offer,
or just the what they're making through these funnels?
Yeah, so they just keep doing keep on doing the same. Like this, you never run out of leads because you
only need one.
Yeah, you're only doing one. Exactly. You only need one. Put an ad out, spend $30 days. That's it. If you wanted to run ads, it's too easy. Like you may get 10 people apply, but the show up rate is 100% because it's the reason why people don't show up is either not relevant or the time doesn't work. Yeah. But it's a tiny challenge, so the time always works.
Yeah, make the time work whenever they're going to schedule it.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so fascinating. Huh. This is like one of the most simple, most brilliant things I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's cool because you're structuring it as a challenge. Because think about this, like when you're doing pro bono work, you're selling coaching calls. I'm going to do 6 coaching calls, and they're expecting coaching calls. Well, the challenge is different, right? You have the ability to set the tone on number one and the ability to sell at the end because it's framed in a way that's not like, wait, I thought I was getting free coaching. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. So I believe in the next 6 months, or once tiny challenges become the thing, there'll be no more pro bono coaching. Like tiny challenge will be the immediate next step like pro bono will be dead because it does the pro bono in one. Yeah.
So fascinating. I didn't know what to ask you because lead gen's simple on this. The funnel's simple. The follow through simple. The sales script is simple.
The tech.
The tech is simple.
And the hardest is to help someone make the first 10K. Like that is the hardest dollar. Yeah.
Man, it's such a cool thing. Well, dang, what are we missing? What are other things people should be thinking about?
With tiny challenges, I would say,
I'm legit like right now. Are you guys freaking out a little bit too?
Oh, I love your $1 million idea. Like that a high ticket tiny challenge. Wow.
Yeah, think about like any market this would work in. I'm thinking because for me, it's like even doing a big challenge. Like you said, there's a lot of work that goes into like maybe you're doing a big challenge. I'm like, this would be something simple. Like I could just have one client a week to go through the product. I'm spending an hour a day in my week for this really cool thing that leads to $1 million day or whatever those things are at the back of it. Like that becomes worth my time even. Because initially I was thinking like, who's going to spend the time to do a tiny, like a one-on-one challenge? Like in my mind, I was like, to be a complete beginner because it's not going to worth your time. But even at my level, it's like, it'd still be worth my time if that was just structuring the payment differently, but the same outcome, the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. Maybe, you know what, maybe I'll borrow your idea and I'll run the first one, let you know how it goes and sell one-on-one.
We're going to race because I'm going to do it tonight because I'm going to email my list. I was just thinking like, just how cool would that be to, anyway, whoever's the first one is going to get the best traction because it's such a unique thing that everyone's going to copy us. Yeah. So we got to make sure we implement this before this video goes live on YouTube.
That's true.
Yes. By the time you guys see this, it'll be live and it'll actually be happening, which will be amazing. Okay, I want to transition a little bit. So what I'm excited for is when you first kind of present this idea to me, and you've been in the inner circle for a long time. It's been fun watching your journey and seeing the things you're doing. But I didn't know that you were doing these things, and you'd messaged me saying, "Hey, this is something I think that everybody in your community should learn about and understand." You kind of walked me through just kind of a quick version of this. I was like, "Oh, that's really, really cool." And so this year, as we were planning out Funnel Hacking Live, it's cool because this year the event's gonna be a little different than years in the past. It's gonna be a virtual event, but means we'll be streaming all around the world. It's Funnel Hacking Live International. We've got huge audiences in Brazil and all these different countries that we'll be streaming into. So it'll actually be the biggest Funnel Hacking Live, even though it's virtual. But I wanted to structure it in a way where it's not just, like some Funnel Hacking Lives, a lot of like random cool presentations about different things you could do. And last year's Funnel Hacking Live is all about the linchpin, very specific. And this year I wanted to transition where the very first day is all about how to go from I'm a startup business owner to my first $1 million. Like that's the first day, right? And day number 2, like how do I go from startup to like 6 figures. Day number 2 is like 6 figures to 7. Day 3, 7 to 8, and day 4 is 8 and beyond, right? So day 4, we have like a couple billionaires who can come speak, which is really, really cool. But day number 1, I'm like, what are the things that anybody could do right out of the gate? And you are actually the very first person that I've asked to speak at Funnel Hacking Live this year because I wanted you to show this thing. I think it's for so many people who have been struggling for so long. You know, they struggle with the tech, the complication, there's so many things to be successful. Where here, if you have a message, if you have something that can change somebody's life legitimately, like you can do this that fast. It's not going to cost you money, and you have to learn 1,000 different things. It's just like you're out of the races. So I'm pumped to this will be the official announcement who's watching that you're speaking at Funnel Hacking Live this year to go deeper into this whole model. And I'm excited because I'm excited to see other case studies of people who are actually doing this, How many people have you had kind of go through this process with you so far?
We've been teaching this for years. We just didn't have a full name for it. And
so you tie a name to it, now it becomes amazing, which is a lesson for everyone as well. You need your own proprietary name.
That's true. That's true. The power of just having a name and giving it a name. I would say 200, like a lot of students, particularly in the last 12 months when we really made it the main thing. It was always like a side thing, like an extra thing, but now it's like the main vehicle. And so, and the results have been the fastest results we've ever seen, and with the least limiting beliefs, like, imposter, all those things, fear of judgment, all that kind of stuff that comes through. There's not much of that. I mean, there's a little bit, but not much. It's not enough to stop people from doing it.
Yeah. So cool. Will you throw out a couple of the industries people are doing this in just to get an idea of like, it could be almost anything, right?
Yeah. The most interesting one was, or two, Qigong. I got a client who's doing like learn Qigong, which is like some sort of, I think it's like Chinese martial arts, like kind of like Tai Chi, and an accountant. Like she was like, no, accountants will not do a challenge. You got to learn a tiny challenge, but of course they would, because there's a problem you can solve in less time or easier for them. Of course they're going to want to do it. And yeah, an accountant doing a tiny challenge is pretty cool. Yeah.
Very fascinating. You think about this, like, and I've noticed this when you're selling anything, like the more time you spend with a person, the more likely they are to buy something, right? This is why I'm such a big believer in podcasts, because they may see Instagram or they see different things in a short form, but as soon as you can get somebody onto your podcast and they spend an hour with you every day, or once a week, whatever, like you spend so much more time, they're way more likely to buy from you. In fact, when we first launched my Inner Circle back in the day, it was fascinating because, I didn't know who, like we put it out there to our whole audience, people showed up. And what's fascinating is of the 100 people who joined the Inner Circle during the very first time we ever launched it, it was like 90 some odd % of the people had came into my world, and then they listened to the podcast for like 8 months, a year, and then they jumped in and signed for Inner Circle without thinking twice. Like there was a direct correlation between how much time I spent with somebody and how much money they were willing to spend with me. And this, like the Tiny Challenge, you're spending you have so much time with somebody, like to prove yourself, to show that your stuff's working, all the kind of things, like they're so much more likely. You're taking, a month and a half worth of them listening to podcasts, you're catering it directly to them, spending the time, they're seeing the value. And then, as long as you have the next logical step, like, oh, here's where we're going to go from there. Like anyway,
and it's quality time too. It's the most intimate time you could have with someone directly. So I guess those 5 hours will be equivalent to potentially 50 hours of consuming content on YouTube or podcasts or anything. It's just so intimate. They feel like they've known you forever, because even after a 5-day group challenge, everyone feels like I feel like I've known you forever. And it feels like you've been in a challenge for such a long time. You lose this sense of time, but in the Tiny Challenge, that whole time perception is exaggerated even more.
Yeah. Oh, so fascinating. Well, thanks, man, for sharing this. I cannot wait for you to be speaking in Funnel Hacking Live. This shows with everybody in the world, and show specifically exactly how they can execute on it. But even this video alone, like I've got 500 ideas on different things I can start doing like immediately. In fact,
it's what's so cool jamming out with you, because I love how when you hear great ideas, you just take it to the next level.
What if we do this? And then, well, it's funny because I'm not gonna lie. When you first start talking this, like in my head, I'm like, I will never do this ever, until like that thing clicked, and I was like, I can actually do this. Because it's funny, like, Inner Circle, we've got Eileen, she has her $250,000 consulting day, and Myron's got his $350,000 like things, and I'm like, I don't even have the guts to offer that. I'm like, how do I even offer that to somebody? You know what I mean? Like, if I email my list about, like, how do you even? But I was like, this would be the way. This is exactly like if I went out to my list and said, I'm doing 5-day one-on-one challenges with people. It's gonna be $100,000 each, and then at the end of it, I'm gonna pick 2 of you guys to do a private. They knew ahead of time, like. It's like they're all fighting for, like, no, like, I'm gonna be the best student. I'm gonna be the best student because only 2 of them gonna have the thing, or whatever it might be. It'd be super fascinating. It's fun for me too, because you know about this project, but I'm building this huge library, and we ended up transitioning. We're buying a movie theater, right? Which is really cool. So it's this huge movie theater, but we had to rehab it. So I got a lot of money to rehab it, but then I don't have enough to finish the project. So I'm like, how in the world, on month 12 in this project that I really need $1 million today. I'm like, how am I going to just pull out $1 million? And like, this literally gave me the idea of just like, oh my gosh, every time the next construction loan, I could go to a bank and get it, but instead of going to the bank and do it, it's like, I'm gonna do 4 mini challenges, which will give me, the money up front. And then from that, if I get 2 people to buy the thing, like there's the money to cover this month's, of the construction or whatever. If I do that 2 or 3 times, that pays for the entire thing. And anyway, so.
0 ad spend too, right?
100% zero.
Yeah.
I think I could build a waiting list. I think, again, selling people access to watch me. Anyway, there's so many fun ideas off of this. It is insane. But this is not about me, you guys. This is about the beginner who's just getting started. So for anyone who's advanced, who wheels are spinning, let us know in the comments down below. But for the beginners, I hope you guys take this. This is something that's been proven to work. 200 plus clients doing this. But it's something I think anybody can do at whatever level. If you've got some kind of expertise in a topic, something that you can help other people with, this is a fast, easy way to just get it done. Spend an hour a day doing this for a week and just test it out. And you said, if you do it 10 times, the average person is getting 3 the first time around, right?
Yeah. The worst close rate has been 1 out of 10. We've never had 0, never. And I kept on telling him, don't be the first one. Like, it's all on me. Like, yeah.
So think about it. I'm thinking about somebody who's like, I need to make $30,000 this month. Like, how do I do that? Like, okay, you're going to have a $3,000 offer. You got 10. I had 7 figures. 10 tiny challenges. You do what in the next 30 days? If you do 2 a week. 3 a week, whatever the math is on that.
You could do 4 or 5 a week, like quite easily. Yeah. That's just, that's a couple of calls a day. It's very manageable because there's not much marketing involved with it. It's not much prep work.
Thank you for being here and for sharing all this stuff. And I hope this is a ton of value for all you guys.